what time it is. Marvin Devine, Hoover, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Big game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing that.
Hey, I was getting my jam on, as you guys can see. Happy Monday, family. Welcome back to another great show for Sisters Against Kidney Disease. Myself, is your hostess with the mostest, Audrey Bella Langston. And I'm just so happy to see you guys. I want to thank you, all my regular viewers, for coming back again, showing me your love and support. I want to thank the new folks that are here for the first time that might be just joining. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed spending a little time with me tonight. A couple of things I want to say to you guys before we get started. I want you to be sure to smash that like button, smash that sucker, like bam. Don't break your phone or your laptop though. Smash it, guys. Hit that share button, share it to your page, share it with your friends, share it to anybody who may be dealing with kidney disease. And there's so many that are, right? And we're gonna really get into that. First off, too, I want to give a couple of shout outs to my Urban Health Outreach Media family. Shout out to my producer who handles all my sound stuff, my graphics, and all the really cool stuff that has us kind of getting our jam on before the show starts. And I want to give a special shout out. Yes, and that's to them too. Drop your comments. I was going to mention that. See, my producer's on it. With our guests, they are willing to answer questions. There is no foolish question, no matter how versed we are, that we think we are in relation to kidney disease, those that are kidney warriors. I want you to still ask questions. And for those who may be asking for themselves or for someone else, please, please, please do that. Also, I want to give a shout out to my girl Lisa Baxter of the Lisa Baxter Show. Lisa has two awesome books out. One of them is called Through the Eyes of a Dialysis Patient, and this other really, really cute one called Mel C Takes Dialysis to Show and Tell. So I know, guys, these are great. These are great books. So please check her out in her show, support her with those books. They're very reasonable. We're all out here doing our thing, doing what we feel God is leading us to do in order to get this word out to you guys, to support you, to get you these organs that you need, right? Also, today, Monday, March 1st, is what? Kidney Month. Yes, we celebrate awareness of kidney disease this entire month. So you see, I'm living with my kidney transplant and rocking it on. Also, I got my little green bow on. Yes, okay. My guest has this really cute color on. But what's really important is two things. I want to give a happy birthday shout out to everyone. My birthday is this Saturday, March 6th. This was the week 16 years ago on March 4th that I myself was blessed with my kidney from my godson, Roger Reynolds. So I want to give a shout out to my godson, Roger Reynolds, who I love with all my heart and soul. March 4th, Wednesday, will be the day I celebrate 16 years of my transplant. God is so good. He has been so good to me. And then 2 days after that, on Saturday, I will be celebrating 59 wonderful years of life. And I am truly blessed and truly, truly grateful. So this month also, guys, there's 93,000 people waiting on a kidney transplant to save their lives. 13 people die each day. Okay, excuse me, that's incorrect. 13 people, no, I did say that right. 13 people die each day, and 14 are added to the list. We've got a lot of statistics regarding this. And of course, as African Americans, we lead the pack with that. And we want to do what we can. Let's do our part to not only support kidney donation and kidney disease, but also we got to do better at being donors, guys. We have got to do better. Even in death, we don't donate. We got to change that, because if we're going to take these organs, who are we not to be willing to give them? Think about that. God don't like ugly. Okay, remember that. So we got to do better with that, right? So I'm done with that because I'm more excited about sharing with you guys who our guest is tonight. My girl, Barbara Chatman, resides in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And she believes that she has a responsibility to educate others through her own experiences, which began with the diagnosis of kidney failure with her husband in 2017. When he was told that he needed to go on the transplant list, she realized the importance of what? What are we always talking about on all of our shows? Educating yourselves on kidney disease. And that is exactly what she did. She educated herself and began preparing for the journey that her husband was about to embark on. She landed on the website for the National Kidney Foundation of Fort Lauderdale. And that opened up an amazing door for her in not only the world of knowledge in relation to kidney donation and transplantation and all the other great stuff that you learn through that organization, but also an opportunity to do what I love to do, as well as countless others, and that's volunteer. But the really cool thing is from that culminated a part-time position as the Regional Development Director. That's awesome, okay, for the National Kidney Foundation. And she oversees the South Florida region area. She's here today to talk to us and to share her journey as a caregiver. She's going to talk to us about prevention, treatment, and awareness of kidney disease. And I know many of us know these things. However, these things are constantly changing and evolving. Okay. And we need to be in the loop with what's going on. And that's what we're about to get down with right now. So please give a warm welcome to my guest, Barbara Chatman. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Bella.
Thank you, honey. How are you?
I am good. Good.
Good. I'm loving your orange. You got the orange thing going on, and I'm doing the green. So we are definitely, we connected for this month for sure. I
Absolutely.
appreciate you coming to join us. And thank you so much for wanting to come and share with us, because of the fact also primarily that today does kick off National Kidney Month. We all love this month. We know it's a very special month. It's super special for me because of all the things I've shared. This was my month. Okay, 16 years ago. And for so many others, countless others that have gotten their kidneys. So I want to just start going right into it with you. And I want to start with asking you to kind of share about your husband's journey and the really amazing thing in relation to how there was they did the paired kidney exchange with he and your daughter, because she could not, I believe, directly donate to him. So they did a paired exchange. Let's just roll with that to start out.
Okay, well, thank you so much again, and thank you for this opportunity. As you mentioned, yes, this is the first day of National Kidney Month, and it's very special to me personally because of my connection to kidney disease with my husband. But as you mentioned, my husband was diagnosed back in 2017. And unfortunately, I was not able to donate one of my kidneys because I have one of the risk factors, which is high blood pressure. But our daughter, who was not a direct match for him, stepped forward and volunteered to go into the paired kidney exchange program. And so if anybody knows about this program, what it does is it allows a person to donate their kidney to someone else in need. And then my husband was able to get a kidney from another generous donor. And so it was just a blessing, because had she not done that, my husband would probably still be on the transplant waiting list and going through dialysis.
Wow. And so, Barb, how long was your husband on dialysis? That's question number one. And then part two of that is, just out of curiosity, did your daughter know who her kidney was going to, and vice versa? Did your husband do a letter? Sometimes you do a letter or whatever, and you guys maybe come to find out who he received his from.
Right. Okay. So my husband, well, let me just back up. Okay, so we did receive a letter after the transplant from the person who donated the kidney to my husband. Actually, it's from a lady out in California. She reached out to us, and we did respond back to her, and we actually communicate from time to time, and certainly each year I send her a happy kidneyversary email, and just basically thanking her for her generosity. My daughter did not know who received her kidney. All we knew was that it went to Minnesota. So yeah, she did not know.
Okay. And she had no reservations about, the change, the new system, as far as, okay, I'm not giving my kidney to my dad anymore, it's going to somebody else. So she was all good with that.
He was, and it was so heartwarming for me because what happened was there were some other family members who had stepped up. So she was kind of like the last person. So when I went over to meet with her, I was in tears and I was, sharing with her, what was going on, and we didn't know, what was going to happen. And she just very nonchalantly said, "I'll donate one of mine." And I
Wow.
was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, I'm healthy. I live a healthy lifestyle. I exercise a lot. And she's like, yeah, I'll donate one of mine. And so that was the beginning of a whole new journey for us. And of course, I had already gone through the whole evaluation process with my husband. As you have to be assessed and approved and all of that. So even though she was becoming a living donor, she had to go through the same process.
Wow, that's awesome. And so did their transplants take place on the same day?
Yes, funny you should say that because it did. So on May 3rd of 2018, early in the morning, the three of us hopped in the car and headed to Cleveland Clinic. She would go into surgery first because they were waiting to get her kidney to ship it out to Minnesota. And then when she was done, they cleaned up the operating room that she used, and my husband went right into that
Oh,
same operating
wow.
room. And his kidney was already there because it came in from California. So it was waiting for him. So,
Wow.
for me, it was a very stressful morning, a tiring morning because I was running from room to room, to see how she was doing, to see how he was doing. But, it was a very joyous occasion.
Yeah. And so their recovery time was good. Well, tell us about how long was your hubby and she in the hospital?
Okay, so she was in the hospital, I would say maybe like 2 days. And ironically for my daughter, my granddaughter was getting ready to graduate. And so my daughter was like, listen, I don't know what you guys have to do, but I need to be out of here so I can be at my daughter's graduation. So she was actually out of the hospital by that Friday because the graduation was coming up. My husband stayed in a little bit longer because when you are the recipient of a kidney, it's a little more complicated with the operation. So, they give a few extra days, but it wasn't too much longer, maybe like 4 or 5 days, and then he was out.
That's great. And how far post is he now? Your
Uh, this
husband?
May, this May it will be 3 years.
That's great. That's wow. What a blessing
It
that,
is. It
you
really
know,
is.
because you know what? When I had my transplant in 2005, I don't think pair exchanges were being done at that time. I think it was just starting to maybe come to the table, if I
Right.
remember, you know. And so it's just to see, some people might think, 16 years is a long time, and in relation, in certain ways it is. However, with regard to medical technology and the advancement of that, it is like amazing all the new things that have come into place since I got
Yeah.
my transplant. It's just amazing. And this paired exchange is just definitely one of them. And it's so refreshing to know that it's in place, because now there's even more hope for others in relation to living donation. Again, at the beginning
Yes.
of the show, I keep stressing, and I know you're going to get into this, about the importance of that so we can get more people transplanted. And
Yes.
so, having said that, I'm going to go right now into asking you to kind of share with us, which is one of some of the things you really wanted to share with the group about, is in relation to what you do. And please start off by telling us that, and then going into, just explaining about chronic kidney disease.
Okay, well, if I may, let me just start out by telling a little bit about the National Kidney Foundation of
Sure.
Florida. We
Mhm.
are a nonprofit organization and a Florida-based affiliate of the National Kidney Organization out of New York. Our office is centrally located in Orlando, but as you stated in the beginning of the show, I am local down in Fort Lauderdale, but we are dedicated to the treatment, prevention, and awareness of kidney disease. And our mission is to prevent kidney disease, improve the lives of those who have the disease, and to make available all organs for transplantation. So the foundation is really doing some really wonderful things. And certainly, it was like such valuable information for me when I was going through the journey, or at least starting the journey with my husband. But as it relates to kidney disease itself, and this was one of the things that just really resonated with me when I started doing my research, was that when I discovered that African Americans are 3 times more likely to get kidney disease, it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness. And the reason is because of diabetes and high blood pressure. And those are the two main risk factors, with diabetes leading the pack there. But here's the thing that's very important for your audience to hear. And I know many of them probably are already, dealing with kidney disease and probably already know this. But unfortunately, for certain minority groups like African Americans, Hispanics are 1.5 times likely to get kidney disease. And then you have Asians, Pacific Islanders. But unfortunately, for these minority groups, we're at a higher risk for diabetes and high blood pressure altogether. So because they're at a risk for those, it automatically leads over into kidney disease. So it's so important, especially during the month of March, to really stress the importance of getting tested and learning what the risk factors are, and more importantly, knowing what your numbers are. So that is very critical.
Yes, it is. And and as you said, that is what's critical, and just the prevention factor. I really do believe that a lot of this also is genetics as
Yes.
well. I think that we are genetically predisposed, Barbara, as African Americans.
Yes.
And but I also have to really believe that what could really help is prevention, getting yearly checkups, especially in relation to a renal panel, as we
Yes.
call it. Because when we go for a yearly checkup, they're not checking for that. If there's
Right.
nothing visibly going on that triggers the doctor into saying, have you had any problems with your, with urination, whatever, just all those things that it slowly builds up to kidney
Right.
disease. It's really important that if there is someone in close proximity in your family, mother, father, grandparents, to say, you know what, I really want to start at least every once a year kind of getting this checked out. Would you agree that that's a good idea?
Absolutely. Because, I want to just back up for a minute and just say that, there are 2 tests, okay, that you can get that will determine how well your kidneys are functioning and where your kidneys fall as it relates to the GFR, which is what I'm going to talk about shortly. But a urine test and a blood test, those are 2 simple tests that people can get to determine how well their kidneys are. And with the urine test, that's going to determine if there's a leakage of protein, because protein should actually stay in your blood. It should never leak into your kidneys. Of course, the blood test is going to determine how well your kidneys are actually filtering the blood through the kidneys, and it's going to generate this GFR number, which is critical because that determines how well it's functioning. And so one of the things I like to share with you, that just as important as it is to know your cholesterol numbers, your high blood pressure numbers, or glucose numbers, they need to add the GFR number to that list as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real important. And then also, just getting, there is such thing as just regular blood screenings also, that kind of can target, um, reveal to us the possibilities of certain things for the future. I'm seeing more advancement in that as well with certain blood tests, so you can kind of get a heads up
Yes,
if you may be
yes,
heading toward a little something, even with vitamin deficiencies, which is really important too. We sometimes, I think, we
yes,
don't
yes.
think the vitamin thing is important, but it is so critical, especially after you reach a certain age. So
Right.
you shared some of the main things that cause CKD, and let's talk about some of the, like, how the various stages work, or however you want to formulate what you want to share with everyone. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Well, there are 5 stages to kidney disease. And basically, it starts at stage 1, which is no, your kidneys are, for the most part, normal. Now, when I talk about the GFR number, which stands for glomerular filtration rate, that number can start as high as 90 and go up. So the higher the number, the better your kidneys are. But as kidney disease worsens, the stages increase. So it goes from stage 1 down to stage 5. Once you hit stage 5, you're in kidney failure, and your kidney function at that point will probably be at a 15. And the only thing that can save your life is dialysis or a transplant. But I want to piggyback on what you mentioned about getting those annual checks, because, this year your kidney function may be at, let's say, an 85, and then next year it may be lower. But if you make the decision not to get an annual checkup, and then you skip a year and then you come back, you may be at a stage 4 or a stage 5. So it is very important to get your kidneys checked on an annual basis and to make sure that you know that number. Now, one of the things that I like to share in my webinars is that when you mention about age, unfortunately, there are some organs in our body that age with us, and the kidneys just happen to be one of them. So when you reach the age of 60 and older, you automatically, just from aging, will start to lose a certain percent of your kidney function, which again is why it's important to get your labs done so that you know. So as you age, your GFR may be in a range of 60 or maybe a little bit less, and that may be the norm for you because of aging. But you want to stay on top of that and make sure that that's the case.
Yeah. And so for those who are not aware, Barbara, please explain, about the because I know we know these terms. GFR, I believe, is pronounced as glomerular filtration rate. Now,
Mm-hmm.
here comes where we talk about lab work,
Mm-hmm.
which is critical for people to be able to read your own lab work. I tell so many people that it can look a little scary when you're not familiar with it. You're like, what is this? What is this? But what they've done now, most of the testing places, like my lab testing facility is Quest Diagnostics, and they have a lot of those answers on there, little question
Mm-hmm.
marks where you can hit that if you're like, well, what does this mean? And it will tell you. Some of them don't. And that's what's good when you go to see your nephrologist, to have your pad. I have questions for mine. He know when I'm coming in the door. He's gonna have to take some time if I have some questions. So would you say that that's really important as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's another webinar that I give, is called Understanding Your Labs, because with my husband, I've had to learn how to read labs. And that was why I created the webinar, because I realized when you go into the doctor's office, you need to be able to talk intelligently with him and sometimes go toe to toe with him. And so if you get a copy of your lab results, and everybody should get a copy of your results whenever you have lab work. But once you get that copy, and if you learn how to read your labs, and I'm not saying, you have to know everything that's on there, but your labs can really tell you how well you're doing. And from lab works that you get as it relates to the kidney, you have things you look at, such as your bond or your creatinine levels. You look at your GFR. There's a lot of things. You look at the potassium. There's a lot of different things that you look at. So learning how to read the labs is very important. I shared this, I think, with you when we were talking over the weekend, is that I had a primary who I actually changed doctors because he did not want to send me to a specialist. I saw something on my lab work, and I challenged him and I said, listen, I need to go see a specialist. And he was like, oh, no, 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 you don't need to do that. And I was like, yes, I do. So it's important for people to understand that you are your own best advocate,
That's
and
right.
you have right. And you have that right, okay, to ask questions of your doctor. And if you don't feel that you're getting the right answers, or that your health may be compromised, change doctor, get someone else.
That's right. And I feel really bad for our seniors with relation to this,
Yes.
because especially here in the state of Florida, because this is a retirement state. So we have a plethora of senior citizens here. They're not as active, proactive
Yes.
in their health. And they don't, even though I'm sure many of them have family, people work and they can't always go to these appointments with them. So they're just doing, and that's the old school mentality too. Just do what your doctor tells. I just do what my doctor tells me to do. That's
right.
what my grandmother used to say. Well, no, I don't think that's right. I mean, do what your doctor says, but don't be afraid to question. Okay, so why am I taking this?
Exactly.
And what type of side effects is this going to give me? And so that's the thing about it, and that's what really bothers me when I think about that. And it's not surprising, in my opinion, that these type of issues come up, like what you just shared with the doctor copping attitude, because they're not here to dealing with people who are being more articulate and savvy in that. I am serious about that. It's almost like, how dare you? I'm a doctor.
Exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But is what I'm saying valid? So let's not get the game twisted. This is my life.
It's your health. Yeah,
don't
you're
get mad at
absolutely
me
right.
because I know the game. Don't you agree?
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's your health, and so you only get one body, and so you got to take care of it. So it's important to educate yourself, okay? Not only, we're talking about kidney disease and kidney health, but also about what you can do. There are some things that we can do, to maintain better health, and learning how to read the labs is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I know you stated that one of the issues with the fact that you were not able to donate to your husband, were you pre-diabetic or you were full-blown I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Pre-hypertension, or you were in full-blown hypertension?
Oh, yeah. No, I was in full-blown hypertension.
Okay.
But, it was funny because I tried to reason with them, because when my husband first was diagnosed, I just knew automatically that I was going to donate a kidney. It was never a question, that I would give him a kidney. And when they, when you go through the initial evaluation, they do an assessment of your health. And so when that came up, I was really heartbroken, because I wanted to donate my kidney. But, this leads me to the whole paired kidney exchange program, because a lot of people aren't aware of that. And what I want to share in relations to becoming a living donor is that I really want people to educate themselves on that alone, because sometimes we think if we can't donate a kidney directly to a loved one, then we don't want to do it at all. And so I think, one, that's being selfish, but I also feel that it's doing your loved one an injustice, because now you have a loved one that's on dialysis or on the transplant list that may have an opportunity to get a better quality of life. And because, you don't want to donate it to someone else so that they can get a kidney from another generous donor. I mean, I think we need to do better in that area, and I think education is the key in doing that. There's the fear of the unknown, we always say. So, when you know better, you do better.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think, just what you shared, Barbara, in relation to the unknown is fearful to us. I also understand our people, and I'm sure you do too, in the sense of a little bit of where this comes from in
Mhm.
relation to these cultural disparities especially in the medical, industry. And so that's what I wanted to get into a little bit because, also because, I want you to share with everyone exactly what your function is in relation to the National Kidney Foundation of Florida. And where do you think, or what is your theory on where a lot of that comes from and why? And what are your thoughts on what we can possibly do or help do to make this better?
Well, I think the fear comes from, things that have happened in the past to our people, to African Americans, and and of course, we have every right to be a little bit hesitant and a little bit cautious. But I think, when you educate yourself and start to learn, what it is, let's say, to become a living donor, I think that helps to take that fear edge off a little bit and help us to move in the right direction. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but that's what I hope to do in my role with the foundation as the regional development director. Is I do a lot of education, which is what I really enjoy, because I really want people to understand that they do have options, to not just be on dialysis or to be on the transplant list, but to give it some thought, and to talk to their family, about the possibility of, becoming a living donor. So I always come back to the education piece, and what I do is to try to make sure that the people that I come in contact with understand just how important it is, not only to learn risk factors for kidney disease, but also know that they do have options.
Hmm. And I know you stated a few minutes ago, about 10 minutes ago or so, that you actually facilitate webinars on some
Yes.
things. Tell us about that a little bit. And is anyone welcome, or just so my audience kind of knows about that? Because we, as in the transplant community, we're very much into webinars. So
Oh,
I want you to
okay.
share about that.
Yeah, well, actually, I have a couple of webinars coming up this month in honor of National Kidney Month. I have one on the 4th, which is this Thursday at 12 noon. It's a free virtual webinar. Anyone can join the webinar. They can go to our website at kidneyfl.org and register for that one on March 4th. And then I have another webinar coming up on March 18th at 6 p.m. because I know a lot of people, may work. And so I wanted to have a time that may be a little bit more convenient for them. So in this webinar, which is titled Your Kidneys in You, I talk about in depth all things kidney. I talk about what it is, the risk factors, how to prevent it, the symptoms. I talk about living donors. I give statistics. And so I talk about a little bit of everything. So the whole purpose of National Kidney Month is to raise awareness about kidney health and kidney disease, and also to encourage people to get tested during the month of March and to know their numbers. So I welcome anyone who wants to attend this very informational class to uh, go to the website again, which is kidneyfl.org, and register.
Yeah, and that sounds great. That sounds really good. Because especially for what I call, our newbies. You know what
Yes,
I mean? Even people who are just getting diagnosed, as well as even if it's not even them themselves, but like you had your situation with your husband, and you know how you went about educating yourself. Um, oh, Alexis, she wants to set up a meeting with you. She said, I'm so glad I came across this platform. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Alexis. We're glad you did too. And it is a great connection. And so
yes,
this is definitely why we're here, to touch people such as Alexis and others, who say, my gosh, we've had many people say, I'm sorry it took me so long to find, this platform, but it's never too late. That's the great
yeah.
thing about it. And so do you ever have a testimony on your webinar, or it's strictly just about the educational factor? Anyone giving their testimony?
Well, yeah. Well, what I do on my webinars is I do go through the whole educational piece, but at the end of the webinar, I share my story because I want people to know my connection not only to the National Kidney Foundation, also to kidney disease. I think it's so important, when we can put a face to kidney disease. A lot of times, you hear about kidney disease or you read about it, but when you can come in contact with someone, who's journey, and give a testimony, and you know what I'm talking about. It helps make the transition if you are newly diagnosed or trying to make a decision about something. It helps to make it a little bit easier. So I do give my own personal testimony in my webinar at the end of
Thank you,
the
Abby.
webinar
I love
itself.
you too. Yeah, which is good, which is good. And I think what's important, I know for me, like I'm always seeking out the younger gen. You know what I mean? Because as far as, we
Yes.
have a lot of younger people that are dealing with kidney disease, and I'm really trying to target getting more of them to be open about it, and, and speak on it, and share their stories, so, because it would be so helpful. People from their own genre, they tend to stray, a little bit into their
Yes.
own little thing. And I've talked to a mom before who's like begging her son to, reach out and talk, about it. But it's just it's just so hard, getting a lot of them to
Yeah.
do it. And what you mentioned earlier that I'd like for you to touch on a little bit, Barbara, is the stats. Now, I know in the beginning I talked about how many we have in the US and things like that. But I would just like for you to share the stats in relation of race variation. Who's donating living, who's donating deceased, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Oh, shoot. Hello? I
I
think I
can hear
just
you.
lost. Oh, okay, I'm here. Okay. I thought I lost my picture. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so you shared a little bit of the stats early on in the program. There are over 107,000 people that are on the waiting list in the US, and over 90,000 are just for kidneys alone, and that number is huge. And then if you look at the state of Florida, there are 4,200 people that are on the waiting list in Florida. 42,000 are end-stage renal disease patients, which basically means they're already in kidney failure. And then you have 28,000 that are on dialysis. So the numbers are definitely staggering, and I'm going to just give you some numbers as it relates to living donors. I'll start out with the living donors, because we were talking about the importance of, people educating themselves and possibly becoming a living donor. So in the United States, right now, there are 5,237, or let's say 5,200 people. And these are stats from last year, from 2020, from UNOS, which is the organization that actually manages the organ transplant. But there are 5,200 living donors from last year that they had. There were 11,000 deceased donors. In Florida, we only had 245 living donors, and we had 856 deceased donors. Now, I went and broke that down a little further just to give you a little more context to those numbers. The number of deceased donors by race, okay, in the US, for whites is 7,900, for blacks is 1,700, Hispanics is 1,700. For living donors in the US, 3,700 for whites, 372 for blacks, and 773 for Hispanics. Now, keep in mind, these are the minority groups that are at a higher risk for getting kidney disease. Okay, and then if you go over to the waiting list, there are in the US right now, well, actually, this is through February 28th, which is when I ran the report, there are 1,500 whites on the waiting list. There are 1,700 blacks and 722 Hispanics, and these are for the kidneys. So you can see from some of these numbers, there are wide gaps there as it relates to some of the minority groups, which tells us that we need to educate ourselves more in certain areas. Another statistic in Florida for the wait list is, let's just see here. Okay, so in Florida for transplant, let me give you the transplants. In Florida, last year we had 599 for whites and 542 for blacks and 438 for Hispanics. So that's just a few of the numbers, and you can certainly go on the UNOS website and you can pick up you can put in parameters and pull that information. But again, there are a lot of gaps, and you can see when it comes to African Americans and Hispanics in particular, we are low on the totem pole there.
Wow. Yeah. And even as I'm listening to you read those stats off, even the variation between African Americans and Hispanics are off. You know what I mean? We're still even lower.
Yes.
I mean, like when you said 372, I believe, of living donation African Americans, was that in living?
Yes.
The living donation? I'm like, oh my God. Wow. That. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that was the number. It was 372 living donors last year. And then there was 3,700 whites and 773 Hispanics.
Wow.
And so, the key with living donors is that, getting a living kidney from a living donor, not only gives the gift of life, it gives a better quality organ as well.
That's correct.
And it allows the person to get the organ sooner. So the sooner that you can identify a living donor, the sooner a person can come off dialysis and or get a transplant.
Exactly. And it's stated that the absolute best for longevity is a living related donor, of course. But even still in a living donor,
Yes.
even with the exchange, like what your family did, that was still a living donor. So they do tend, it has been proven that they tend to last longer. I know we're getting a bad echo, guys. I hear it now myself. I'm not sure where that's coming from, so I apologize. Hopefully you guys can still hear. But yeah, we've got to do better. We got to do better. It's like you said, when you know better, you do better. So it's about the educational factor. And I have to say, it's about releasing that 4-letter word that can cripple you. Fear. Okay? Fear will cripple you. And you don't even realize it. I did a speaking engagement. It was actually a transplant seminar back in the late 90s. And there was this gentleman that almost was vehemently against donation, living, or I don't even remember why he was there. You know what I mean? Being the attitude, his stance on it. But I remember a couple of things I said. He wanted to hone in with, it's nothing wrong with questions. That's what I was there for. But it was like those little dig kind of questions. Well, why? And so I'm listening to him, and I answer him, and he said, no, I don't believe in it, because I'm not interested in giving my organ because of whatever. I don't know if he was a guest with somebody else, but anyway, I listened, and I remember there was this one profound statement, and the Lord must have put it on my heart. I said, sir, do you mind if I ask you a question? Yeah. I said, sir, if your kidney failed, or your wife, or your daughter, or your son, let's just stick with you since you're the one here. Would you take an organ to save your life? Or would you just do what I'm thinking you might kind of lean towards, since you're so against it? You're like, well, Jesus, just take me now. Would you take the organ?
Right.
And I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in a row. And he goes, well, yeah. I mean, well, yeah, why not? If they're giving them away. And I said, so, sir, you would actually take what you're not willing to give? Really? That's interesting, sir. But amen. And I just left it like that. And after the event, when we were in the socializing phase with everyone coming up asking questions, he came and he said, excuse me. He said, I just first of all want to apologize to you. The way I was asking my questions was rather rude. And he said, and I want to thank you for waking me up to something that was totally ridiculous in me to think that. And when you asked me would I take one, and he said, because of that, I'm going to sign up to be a donor. And I just really appreciate you enlightening me in this area. Wow. Yeah, in this area that I have been dark in, he said, for life. Like I said, I think he was there with a friend or something. It's to support him. He didn't seem like a good support base to me, but he wasn't my friend. But I felt so good about that because, first of all, that's how God works a lot of times. It puts us in that place to touch that heart or that stone in that person. And sometimes that's what it takes. That remember our senator used to say things that make you go, and you're like, I guess I never looked at it like that.
That way, right. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, sometimes, you have to help people to see a different perspective, about something. Again, it's, when you get a diagnosis that you're in kidney failure and that you need to go on the transplant list, and that's devastating. I mean, it's like, okay, what do you do? Am I going to live? I mean, all kinds of things are going through your mind. And I think that's one of the reasons why I felt it was so important for me to educate myself, on what we were about to embark on. And I'm still, caring for my husband. One of the things that when, we would go down to Cleveland, because I'm very hands-on. And I'm very detailed and with my organization and everything. And so when you get a kidney, there's a lot of details that come into play with medicines, and everything is very regimented. And so the doctors would, they would come to me and they said, well, let me see your notes. What do you have? Tell me what you have. So you really have to, step up and say, you know what, I'm gonna face this head on, because you can get through it. I mean, getting kidney disease is not a death sentence. It doesn't have to be. When we were talking about the stages for kidney disease, that's why it's so important to get tested, because just like with any disease that's out there, early detection is the key. The earlier you can detect what's going on, the better you can tackle it, and hopefully you can beat it. And the same thing with kidney diseases. If you catch it when it's in a stage 2 or a stage 3 or whatever, you can start to make some changes, which leads me into just kind of sharing, like, well, what can you do if if you're diagnosed with kidney disease? Well, the first thing you want to do is to control your diabetes and high blood pressure if you've been diagnosed with that. And most times you're on medications from your doctor. You want to maintain a healthy weight. If you're smoking, stop smoking, because smoking, among other things, can slow the flow of the blood to the kidney. You want to eat healthy. You want to watch if you take over-the-counter meds. They call them NSAIDs, but we're talking about Aleve, ibuprofen, Motrin. If you take those long term, they can damage your kidneys. They become toxic. And it's not to say that you can't take them every now and then. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, I was one of those people who didn't leave home without my Advil. That was my pill of choice. And so when everything went down with my husband, and I learned that these pain relievers can be toxic, I stopped taking Advil. And so it's not to say you can't take them every now and then, but don't take them long term. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can do, that you can control, to either slow the progression of kidney disease, or stop kidney disease from getting any worse than it is.
Good stuff. Yeah, definitely. Hey, Jared, could you put that question back up? I want to take some questions. So Joy Krosky says, how does the National Kidney Foundation raise awareness of and change public attitudes toward organ donation?
Okay. Yeah, they do it through what I do with education, through the webinars. Before COVID came on the scene, I would go out and I would do health fairs. I would hand out information and brochures. And so our goal, is to educate. I think when I shared about what the National Kidney Foundation is, we are dedicated to the treatment, prevention, and awareness. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that. And that's where my role comes in, and doing, interviews like this and having a platform to really share information. And so that this is what makes the webinars that I'm going to have this coming Thursday at noon, and then again on Thursday the 18th at 6 p.m. So important is for people to come on to learn the importance of the risk factors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Because that too, like you just said, is definitely real important, because there's risk factors in everything. And it's not right and nobody does it, but sugarcoat it. And I just want to touch on something that you mentioned earlier about NSAIDs. Now, me personally, I was told by non-nephrologists from the time I was transplanted, never take them. Never, as a recipient. I have to stick with Tylenol, as they tell most recipients, I believe. You know,
they do.
Yeah, because like you said, they're not good for you. Jared, there was another comment from Alexis McGee Ashford, I believe is her last name. Can you put that up, please? When you get a chance, or any others. I thought this was really cool. You were telling us about something, but she said, I'm in full-blown tears. Oh, I prayed last night for connections, and I have no clue how I came across this platform. Bella and Barbara, it was God, Alexis, but Bella and Barbara, I'm proud, and proud would be an understatement. And I would urge you, Alexis, I'm so glad that you found this as well. It wasn't by happenstance, that's for sure. Just like how Barbara and I got connected. But not only is this how God works, but it's also how things work in the world of transplantation. We are all divinely connected, or we get connected in some way. And I would urge you to, I would like for you to connect with me on Facebook so I can keep in touch with you, because it definitely sounds like you need some support. And I am totally willing to be that support for you, as well as Barbara. And I would say you should definitely check out Barbara's webinars. I think that would be a great source for you. And as well as continuing to join in on the show, because we're family. We're all connected together. We are family with this. And so, Verna said Tylenol only post-transplant. Yep, that's so many of us. And trust me, I used to like every now and then popping an ibuprofen, because it was great it's great for inflammation. Tylenol does not work to me for inflammation. It's just a pain, representative of getting rid of pain. Thank you, Verna. This has been a wonderful show. So what I want to, you've been in dialysis for 10 years and will be resigning next month to serve my community. Oh my God,
that's nice.
You. Yeah.
Yes.
We're really praying for you for that. That's awesome. They need people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you in the community. That's great. Wow. Is there anything that else, Barb, that you'd like to share? Yeah, Debbie. Debbie is my partner over at Tampa General. Debbie's a recipient kidney as well, 10 years. She's awesome, a retired nurse. But is there anything else, my dear, that you would like to share? Just closing out, any last advice for, the audience? I have been telling people to also, and I'm sure you have too, we touched on this a little bit, to really, really, really think about and pray on the vaccine. So we've got to get toward herd immunity in order to eradicate this. And we as recipients are in the most danger if we get COVID. So I'll give you the floor at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and this was a part of my my webinar too. I kind of touched on COVID-19 because this is where we are, in the COVID world, unfortunately. And what reports have found is that people who are diagnosed with COVID, and specifically those who end up on respirators, are experiencing what they call AKI, or it's acute kidney injury, which is an abrupt disruption of their kidney function. And so when this happens, they end up sometimes having to go on dialysis. And so what they're telling patients is that if you, um, if you were affected by COVID, and specifically if it was really bad, okay, and you were on a respirator, and if you were blessed to come out of that, is to make sure that you connect with your doctor, a nephrologist, because it makes you more susceptible to getting kidney disease. But one thing I wanted to just share as you come to the close of your show, Bella, is that we recently have relaunched our campaign. It's called Are You the 33%? Some of you may have seen it. It was originally launched back in March of last year, but that's exactly when COVID came on the scene. And so everything was turned upside down. But recently they have relaunched it, and it's called Are You the 33%? Because 1 in 3 people is at risk for kidney disease. And there is a quick quiz that people can take if they go to minuteforyourkidneys.org. That's minuteforyourkidneys.org. You take this simple quiz and it asks you a few questions, and it helps to assess whether or not you are at risk. So if at the end of this quiz you determine that you are at risk, then you should contact your primary and or a nephrologist, which is a doctor that specializes in kidney disease. But I want to encourage your listeners to go to this website and to take that quiz. We also had Debbie Allen from the show Fame, like many years ago. And she came on board with the National Kidney Foundation just recently herself, because she was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic. And as I've already stated, diabetes is the leading cause of kidney disease. So she has come on board. She's out advocating on behalf of the National Kidney Foundation as well, to make sure that diabetes is brought into the forefront, because a lot of people are dealing with diabetes as well. And so it's important, again, coming back to getting checked on an annual basis and, knowing what your numbers are.
And that was minute, FOR, not the number 4.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. So
minuteforyourkidneys.org.
Yeah, guys, check that out. Write that down. I will actually try to do a post on my page with this information, because I know it's a lot of information. Even I will post again the information regarding Barbara webinars too for you guys. So yeah, Alexis, you send me a friend request on Facebook if we're not already friends. Candy said that she really enjoyed the show. Thanks, Candy, for joining. And lastly, Barb, I just want to share, I share with all my guests, I select a scripture, a Bible scripture for each of my guests that reminds me of them. I ask God to, lead me to one, and the one that reminds me of what you're doing for the community. Even if it did start out with the diagnosis of your husband, you've made it your mission in life to continue, the furtherance of this. And it's under Luke 6:38, which is a very popular one. And I'm sure you've heard it: give, and it will be given unto you.
Yes.
Measure, pressed down, shaken together.
That's it.
Will be put into our laps. For with the same measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Now, if I had known that scripture, I didn't know that scripture back when I met that man, right?
Right.
All those years ago. But trust me, I would have been quoting that to him, because that speaks of him too, in relation to, you have no idea of the blessings that you will bring upon yourself, thanks, Alexis. That is a scripture for donors. I mean, it's just, it's definitely bless lives. It's about blessing lives. We have to give in order to receive from the, right?
Absolutely. I believe that, and I think you shared this in the beginning, But I believe that I have an obligation, okay, to share my experiences. And, everything that I've said this evening, everything that I talk about in my webinar, it's from my experience, my journey. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm not a doctor, nurse, but I'm very knowledgeable. I've made it my business to educate myself because I had to, because of my husband. And I wanted to make sure that I could be the very best caregiver that I can be. And in order to do that and to be able to talk with the doctors about what's going on with his health, I needed to know what they knew. So, I make sure that I do that. I'm always reading and researching and trying to stay updated. And I just want to say one other thing, Bella. In addition to doing all of the education and reaching out, all of the community outreach, we also host kidney walks throughout the state of Florida, where we bring the community together. Because I heard you mention, the community and coming together. We bring the community together at our kidney walks, from kidney recipients. We celebrate them, in the gift of life, dialysis patients, health professionals, caregivers, family members. And so, when our kidney walks come, I'll make sure that you have the information, Bella, that you can share with them. I mean, we have a kidney walk coming up in Palm Beach on May 1st. And so it's going to be virtual, though, because of COVID. We want everybody to stay safe. And but we're going to have one in Palm Beach. We also have one in Fort Lauderdale. Of course, we have one in Tampa. We have one in Miami, as well. But I just want to encourage all of your viewers, to think about becoming a living donor, and educate yourself during the month of March. This is what March is all about. National Kidney Month. It's about awareness. It's about learning your risk factors. It's all about kidney health. And of course, March 11th is World Kidney Day. And that's when it's global, all over, they will be talking about kidney disease awareness.
Amen. Wow. Well, thank you so much, my friend.
You're so welcome.
Do an extra post because you've given out so much wonderful information. And I'm not sure if ever, I always keep a pen and pad near me. So I took some notes down regarding those dates, and I want to share them with my audience again on my page, guys. So like I said, I will be posting that on my page. And we just want to say thank you, Barbara, for what you do for the community, how you're blessing, all of us with the things you're doing. And I look forward to having you back again. I look forward to it. And blessings on your husband's continued transplant.
Yes, thank you so much. And certainly, people can reach out to me as well. You can, when you post on your website, Bella, you can give them my email address, and my phone number, and they can reach out to me. I'm always available as well.
Okay, awesome. I know obviously Alexis wants to connect with you, so as well as probably others that didn't mention. And so whoever didn't get to ask questions or whatever, I'll post that and you guys can reach out to Barbara yourselves. Well, thank you so much, my sister. God bless you. I look forward to continuing to work with you in our future capacities that we've already talked about. And you have a wonderful and blessed night.
Okay, thank you so much. Be blessed.
Thank you. Wow. I know we ran over our time, guys, but sometimes a little bit, but sometimes this happens when you just got that great info out here. Yes, Joy, it's so useful. It's so inspiring. And I just want to urge you guys to share. Again, smash that share button and share this with anybody else. Like we said, it is National Kidney Month. 11th is World Kidney Day. So we want to just keep putting this love out here. We want to start getting kidney disease recognized the same way that breast cancer is recognized, guys, because you know what else that we didn't get to mention, because Barbara, she and I personally talked about it, is how that's just so recognized, not to take away from breast cancer. Okay, I know many people, friends who've had it, but kidney disease is at a much, much higher level than breast cancer. So what does that tell you? You got to think about that. So we got to work together. This is not a job that a few of us can do alone, right? We need your help with this. So please, again, share that, do something to help someone so you can, just out of the goodness of your heart, but your blessings flow from that. And, I just want to say lastly, Jesus loves you. So do I. And what you going to do about it? Nothing. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Have a blessed night and a great week. Bye-bye.